Hey, and welcome back to my channel. It's Ashley here, and if you are new, hey girl, hey. So today I'm super excited because I am doing a furniture makeover. I have not done one of these in a long time, and I so miss it on my channel, and I know you guys do too. So today I am going to be transforming this cute little vegetable produce cabinet into something totally different, so let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is clean this piece out because it is extremely dirty. So to do that, I'm just going to be using soap and some hot water, and I also put a little bit of Murphy's oil in there as well. So when you're cleaning a piece, there's tons of things that you can kind of clean your wood furniture with. So you can use the TSP, you can use Murphy's oil, you can just use hot water and soap, whatever you like. But just make sure that you're changing out your water so you're not, you know, putting extra and more dirt onto your piece as you're cleaning it, because trust me, the water gets dirty. So I'm cleaning the outside, and I'm also going to be cleaning the inside of this. It was dust, it was just nasty. So I am cleaning every little nook and cranny to this piece. The next step is removing the hardware. So literally there was only 2 knobs, so we're removing those, and I am not using them again. And I also removed the hinges on the doors and the little block pieces that each one of them had at the very top. The next thing that I'm going to do is I am going to strip the top. So I am using my citrus strip, you can't say it, citrus strip to do that. And I'm doing this because it is water damage going on up here, and it's also like little heat rings and stuff like that. And I'm going to remove that so when I paint, I'll have a smooth finish. So after I remove the varnish, I am going to use my sander, and I am going to sand the top smooth and remove any of the gunk that is still on there from the stripper. Now it's time to work on the doors. So I'm going to remove this wire framing that they have, and to do that, I'm using my screwdriver. So I'm removing the staples just like that. They actually came up pretty easily, and I removed them, of course, on all 3 of the doors. After I remove the wiring, I am now just going to take my citrus strip, and I'm going to strip my frames. So I left it on for about 30 minutes, and then I took my putty knife and I removed the varnish. Okay, so now I'm gonna start to sand my doors. So first I started with 100 grit, and then I changed and I switched to an 80 grit because I needed something just a little bit coarser to make my work time less. So that's what I did, and I sanded down all 3 doors. I did the fronts, the inner portions, and also the back. Alright, so the next step is staining. So I'm going to be using weathered oak this time, and I'm going to stain the fronts, the sides, the inner portion, and the back of each door. The next thing that I did was I took my Bondo and I puttied these holes that were on the side. So these holes are basically just where they nailed the side wood to the wood that was in the middle. And I also used this Bondo, of course, to fix any imperfections. So there were a lot of like wood chips and stuff down at the bottom, so I just filled those in using my Bondo as well. The next step was sanding. So I took my palm sander and I began to sand down both of my sides and also the front parts of this piece. Now I'm going to take my staple remover, and I am going to remove the staples from the back, and I'm going to pull the back completely off. So when I removed the back, it was like this sap looking stuff that was attached to the back. So I just took my putty knife and I removed it. So now I'm just going to wipe this piece down and get it ready for painting. So I'm going to do the sides, the insides, and all that. Alright, so now we're going to start to paint. So I already primed this piece. So I mainly primed this piece because of the wood knots, and I used a stain blocking primer because I did not want them to come through, and I literally think I did about 3 or 4 coats on this piece. So now I'm going to paint this the actual color that it's going to be. I honestly cannot remember the name of the color, but I will have it down below in the description box. And I did about 3 coats of this paint. So now I'm going to start to work on the back. So for the back, I am just going to take this piece of fabric that I got from Joann's. I love the print. It's so cute, and it's just like nothing too extravagant. And I'm going to add that to the back. So to do that, I'm first going to lay it flat on here, and then I'm going to cut off the excess fabric. All right, so once I have my piece of fabric cut out, I am now basically going to decoupage this to the back. If you haven't seen me do this, I do this all the time with any fabric that I use. But first, I just spray my backing with some water. And then after that, I take my matte Mod Podge and I add that to the back. And I use the water because the water just helps me to put the Mod Podge on top. And then after I do that, I'm just going to put the fabric back on top, and then I'm going to smooth it out, do that same thing where I'm adding my water and my Mod Podge, and then I just let that dry. Now I'm going to be adding the back onto the back. Oh gosh. Now I'm going to be placing the back onto the back. That sounded so weird. But to do that, I'm going to be using my heavy duty stapler, and I'm going to staple the sides and the top. Okay, so now I'm gonna start to work on these hinges. So these hinges I bought from Lowe's. I just bought new hinges because the ones that were on here previously were just terrible, messed up, they were rusted, and I was just like, I'm going to just buy new hinges, and that is what I did. So the only problem was they only had gold, and I had these clasps that I'm using for the front doors, and I needed them to match. So I went and I took the clasp, and I was searching in the spray paint section for something that came close, and I found this color by Rustoleum. It is a flat chestnut or flat copper or something like that, and it matched perfectly with the hardware that I'm using for the front. So I lucked up. This matched so well. So I'm just spray painting the hinges that color, and I did 2 coats of spray paint. Okay, so I'm also going to be spraying the screws. So this is a little hack that I do that I love. So when I'm spraying my screws, I like to use just like a scrap piece of wood, and I screw all of the screws onto that piece of wood, and then I literally just spray paint them while they're in the wood, and I let them dry overnight, and they are good to go the next day. And this is just a lifesaver, because if you try to spray paint your hinges and like you just have them laying flat, you have to worry about them sticking and all that stuff. So this is a hack. I love to do it, and I do it all the time when I'm spraying screws. All right, so now I'm going to start to add everything back together. So the first thing that I'm going to add back on here are the hinges. All right, now I'm going to start to add the clasp, and to do that, I'm just lining them up and making sure that they're centered. And then I'm going to take my pen, and I'm just going to mark where I need to drill my holes and to add my screws. So after I did that, I discovered that the holes were actually a little too large for the new screws. So I took some putty and I puttied those holes. And then after I puttied each hole, I added my hardware on top. Again, drilling my holes first and then adding my screws, which there were 2 on the sides and then there was 1 underneath. Okay, so instead of using those wired pieces that were attached to the doors, I got the dimensions and I went to Lowe's and got them to cut down some glass for me. And then I also ordered these retainer clips that I got from Amazon that are inexpensive and they work well, so I will have them linked down below. And I'm just going to be attaching my glass using those retainer clips. Now I'm going to start to add the glass, so I'm just making sure that it is nice and centered, and then I'm going to drill my holes on this side, and then I'm going to add those retainer clips, and it is going to keep my glass in place. And literally these little things are amazing, and you don't have to worry about like glue and all that other stuff, and you can put it on all 4 corners if you want, but I honestly just did it on the sides. All right, so the moment you've been waiting for, which is the reveal. So I'm obsessed with this piece. I love it. This body I sealed with wax, and the doors I sealed with polyurethane. And I also decided to lightly distress the edges and the top. My favorite thing about this piece is the hardware, and when I spotted the hardware at Hobby Lobby, I knew that I had to base everything around it. I also love the fabric that I chose. Brings in a warmer neutral color, and also the detail of the fabric is amazing. It's just like a step up from what it used to be, and I'm so glad at how it looks now, and the fact that I just left, you know, the wood doors and I didn't paint the doors, and it just makes them pop even more. This will look perfect in like a little nook corner or something like that in your house. You can add books, you can add little trinkets in there. Very, very thin blankets, like very thin blankets, but you can add them. And I just love how this looks. I hope you do too. If you do, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. Make sure you comment down below to let me know what you think. If you haven't watched my latest video, you can check it out up here. And if you're not subscribed, make sure you click on that subscribe button, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!